Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Maria from nursingpersonalstatement.co.uk, and in this video I'm going to highlight 4 different types of nursing interviews and share relevant and realistic strategies for success. Why? Because not all interviews are the same. You have virtual interviews, which are proving very useful and very popular right now. You also have telephone interviews, you have group interviews, whether they are face-to-face or whether it's virtual, and then you also have individual interviews, all 4 of which come with their own unique set of challenges. So in this video, I'm going to highlight the 4 different types of interviews, or 4 different types of interviews, because there are many more, and I'm also going to focus on relevant and realistic strategies for success that you guys can start to practice today and implement in your next nursing interview. It's important that you are all familiar with different types of interviews, because things can change last minute, and also because people who are prepared tend to be more successful. The first type of interview is the video interview, also known as a virtual interview, and this is a type of interview that takes place remotely and involves a microphone and a video. One advantage of a video interview is that it can take place at the comfort of your own home, but one major disadvantage of virtual interviews is that there is little room for spontaneity. You don't really have that sort of buffer period. I know when I have had, face-to-face interviews where I've actually had to go to the hospital or have actually had to go to that particular university, you've got the time when you're waiting in the waiting room, and then the interviewer may come and collect you, and then they're walking you to the interview room, and then you can kind of have, that sort of small talk, like, how's your day been today, or, oh, what does this poster mean, or what's that piece of artwork there, or maybe the interviewer may tell you on your way to your interview, they may say, hey, that's the lecture hall, or this is a simulation suite, there's like capacity for 60 people in there. With a virtual interview, you don't really have that. There's no room for spontaneity because you don't have the buffer period. 1 second you're at home, and then the next second you're transported into a 20 or 30-minute interview. So one way or one strategy for success that I want to share with you guys today to try and overcome that is to try and incorporate some sort of visualization and try and include the person who is interviewing you, or maybe even the whole interview panel, in on that. One very easy way that you guys can do this is that when you are given the opportunity during your interview to ask a question, rather than asking questions that include yes or no responses, try and ask questions that incorporate some sort of visualization. For example, you may say, I'm aware of the modules that you offer during the first year of this nursing degree, but can you quickly talk me through your perspective on what, a typical day would look like for a nursing student? Or you could say, I'm really interested in this project or in this initiative that this university has launched. What does this look like on a typical day-to-day basis? Just try and include some sort of visualization, because, the benefit of that is that it gives them the opportunity to see that, oh, Maria isn't just here for her interview. She wants to see what we're actually about. She wants to see what things look like beyond the interview process, beyond the application process. So the number one thing I want to share with you guys today when it comes to virtual interviews is try and include some sort of visualization. There are different ways to do this, but the example that I've shared is just one very quick and easy example that all of you guys, I'm sure, can incorporate in your next virtual interview. Another disadvantage of virtual interviews is that sometimes it can be harder to pick up on non-verbal cues. Things like your tone of voice, things like your eye contact, things like body language. Just make sure you pay attention to, not speaking too quickly. I need to take my own advice when it comes to that, because I find that when I'm in front of a camera, my speed of speech literally increases by like 100%. Just make sure you're paying attention to non-verbal cues. There's nothing wrong with standing in front of a mirror and practicing with hand gestures, but I do want to say, if you don't normally talk with your hands, don't start talking with your hands. You can see me using my hands because that's naturally how I talk when I'm, explaining things, or when I'm like in front of students explaining things. But just practice in front of a mirror your non-verbal cues. Make sure your camera is positioned appropriately. If you would like to practice virtual mock interviews with me, then make sure you visit www.nursingpersonalstatement.co.uk. The second type of interview is telephone interview, and it's in the name. And in my opinion, this is like the easiest I don't want to say easiest in terms of the content, because it can be very difficult depending on the type of questions that they're asking you, but in terms of the setup, it is the easiest and the laziest type of interview. And sometimes, because people think, oh, it's just a telephone interview, they can't see me, all they can do is hear me. Some people, you know, they're in their trackies or they're in their pajamas, they're not very, you know, well kept when they're on their telephone interview. And I want to say one tip when it comes to telephone interviews is make sure you are dressed appropriately. If you were going to go to that particular university, or if you were going to go to that particular hospital for an interview, what would you wear? You would wear a smart outfit. The same should be applied when it comes to your telephone interview. And I also want to remind you, if you are having a telephone interview, make sure you smile. Make sure you smile during your telephone interview, because it just helps put you in the right frame of mind. The easiest way that I can explain this, let's just say you've got a friend and you haven't seen her for ages, and you see the friend and then you're like, oh my gosh, hi, I'm so happy to see you, how are you, all of that good stuff. Automatically you're smiling because you're happy. It's easier for you to relay your enthusiasm through your words. Now imagine if, you know, that same friend, you're super happy to see her and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm really happy to see you, how are you? But you're trying to do that with a frown. It's not possible. Saying hi with a smile is a lot easier than saying hi with a frown. So when it comes to your telephone interviews, dress appropriately. I know they can't see you, but make sure you get up, have a shower, put your makeup on, put on a smart outfit, and make sure you smile during your telephone interview. Moving swiftly on to group interviews. Group interviews is where you'll have normally about 3 or more other candidates sat in a circle. I don't know, if it's virtually, you all have your own square. The interview panel will present normally a scenario-based question, or maybe a behavioral or a competency-based question, and then you have to discuss that. One thing I want to share with you when it comes to group interviews is that group interviews are not a competition. All 3 of you may be successful and may be offered a place or a role, or all 3 of you may be unsuccessful and then be sent home. So don't look at it as a competition, because sometimes group interviews, people are like, oh my gosh, I need to get my point across. I need to always interject and, you know, overrule what this person is saying. No, it's not a competition. The second strategy for success when it comes to group interviews is making sure you are aware of the essential and desirable criteria. Sometimes when you are invited for an interview, whether it's for a nursing position or whether it's for a place at nursing school, sometimes that particular organization will share a set of essential and desirable criteria with you. If they have shared it with you, make sure you read it and make sure you study it and understand exactly what they mean. I do have a complimentary video that goes through essential and desirable criteria in more depth, but I will explain it again quickly. Essential criteria are criteria that they want to see. It is essential, it is mandatory that you meet this criteria in order for you to gain a position. Desirable criteria, it's not quite essential. However, if you do display it, then it does add to the quality and it does improve the strength of your application. The reason why it is so important for you to study the essential and desirable criteria if it is presented to you is because the techniques and strategies that you adopt during an individual interview is not the same as the strategies and technique that you will adopt during a group interview. Oftentimes people will say, hey Maria, I had an individual interview, it went really well, and then, you know, we had a group interview and I thought it went really well, but you know, I wasn't successful. And oftentimes it isn't because you don't know, you don't have the knowledge, or you don't have the oftentimes it isn't because you didn't have the knowledge in terms of you didn't know what the NMC code was, or you didn't know what the 6 C's were, or you didn't know what the role of a nurse was. It's just sometimes it could be because you went into that individual interview, or sorry, you went into that group interview thinking it was just you. You forgot that there were other skills that you need to portray. For example, team working skills. You don't really need to display team working skills in an individual interview. Yes, you can talk about it, but in terms of actually actively showing it, sometimes it can be difficult during an individual interview. But during a group interview, there is scope and there is opportunity for you to do that. But if you're just stuck in the mindset of individual interview, me, and you carry that over into a group interview, you're not really going to be successful. I'm going to leave a link up here and also in the comments box below or in the description box below, where I go into more depth about individual interviews, group interviews, and how they differ in terms of essential and desirable criteria. The third strategy for success in group interviews is to make sure you utilize the icebreaker if there is one. So an icebreaker normally is incorporated in group interviews, and sometimes it can be a question, it can be like a quick kind of scenario, a quick activity that is really just put there to kind of help you guys relax, help the other candidates relax, help to put you at ease. And I've been to a lot of group interviews, and there's always that one person who just says, oh, I don't know what to say, I have nothing to contribute. Don't let that be you. Point blank period. Don't let that be you. Don't be that person during the icebreaker who has nothing to share and who has, you know, nothing to say. Like, please don't be that person, because icebreakers are the easiest type of question, or is the easiest type of question that you will be asked during a group interview, or that you may be asked during a group interview. Why? Because there's no wrong or right answer. And the reason why I'm sharing active participation in the group in the icebreaker as a strategy for success is because it helps to set the tone for what you can expect for yourself, and it also helps to set the tone with what other candidates can expect from you and what the interview panel can expect from you. Just imagine an icebreaker. Maria, if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be? And you're like, I don't really know. I'm not sure. I don't know where I'd be. I don't know where I'd be. Okay, next person. Oh, if I could be anywhere in the world, I would be in Barbados because, and they list their reasons. Now you move on to, you know, different stages of the group interview. Why should they give you a chance to speak over the other candidate? Why should other members, you know, other candidates in that group interview, why should they give you an extra minute to speak over the other candidates when you couldn't even contribute anything to the group icebreaker? Oh, I'm not really sure. Is that the sort of energy you want to carry over into the group interview? Or into the other parts of the group interview? Now, I'm not saying step out of your character, become a different person because everybody else is taken. But what I am saying is make sure you utilize the icebreaker. The fourth type of interview that we're going to highlight in this video is individual interviews. And like group interviews, it can be face-to-face or it can be virtual. The number one strategy for success when it comes to individual interviews is practice, practice, practice. Watching videos like this is not enough. It's a good place to start, but it is not enough. You need to stand in front of your mirror, you need to stand in front of your webcam and practice, practice, practice. What is the role of a nurse? Do your research. What is the role of a nurse? Talk to yourself, tell yourself what the role of a nurse is. Watching videos is not enough. Looking at different articles that go through 30 plus types of interview questions is not enough, and almost kind of meaningless if you're not actually putting in the work, if you're not practicing. So make sure you practice, practice and practice. Like, if you'd like to practice with me, then make sure you visit www.nursingpersonalstatement.co.uk. So in this video, we've gone over virtual interviews, telephone interviews, individual interviews and group interviews, and I've also shared unique and relevant strategies for success that you guys can start practicing and applying today. If you'd like more videos like this, then make sure you give this video a like, comment, subscribe, leave any video suggestions in the comments box below, and I wish you guys all the best in your interviews. Bye.